do stuff for reliability.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't, well, it had nothing to do with any of my shit.
I'm
For
joking.
some reason it All right, I'm gonna shut up now.
Oh my goodness. Love it, love it, love it. All right.
We are
So,
live.
all
Okay,
right
cool.
then. Should we do a take two on the opening?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And thank you everybody for finding us here. We will, okay, they're slowly coming. I did put the YouTube link in the other YouTube. So,
I'll get rid of the other.
welcome, everybody, to episode 13 of the podcast, How Do You Know That, with Robert Hollis. We are so glad to have you with us today. And before we get things going, if you are watching us on YouTube, please hit the like and share buttons as well as subscribe buttons to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And when you do hit the subscribe button, make sure that you hit the bell icon so that you will be notified when we do broadcasts like this on YouTube. And if you're listening to us elsewhere in the podcast universe, please like and share this with friends and help us spread the word. Also, if you'd like to join our exclusive community, the Inner Circle, you can join us by going to roberthollis.com/join to register. There will be lots of great exclusive content, and you'll be able to participate in our special breakthrough sessions to help you move on to the next level. Today is episode 13 of How Do You Know That, where Robert is going to interview a special guest. Now, allow me to introduce our host today. He is an entrepreneurial evangelist renowned for his incredible achievements. He is also known for inspiring countless of individuals around the globe with his unwavering determination and spirit. And he has also helped 67 people as of this date become millionaires. Known as a mentor, GPS to success, and a dear friend, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Hollis!
Oh my God, twice in one day. So let's give it up for the hostess with the mostest, Craig. Thank you. I love you and appreciate you so much. And for those of you that are on here, take two. So if you find this someplace, look for another live, and we're on here. So I'm going to post it on my social media as we're talking here and get people on here live. So again, Craig, thank you so much. I can't wait to interview our special guest today. And that special guest is none other than Craig Jackman, our incredible MC, also our hostess with the mostest, also a visionary. You guys have known him if you've been around for a while. And we just came up with a great idea that why not get the chance to know the other visionaries and what we're doing there. So a little bit of background from Craig, from what I know. You guys I'm excited to hear today some other stuff. I first met Craig a long time ago, many years ago, probably 10 plus years. And when I met Craig, he was brought on by a guy that I actually mentored and trained in network marketing. And he was basically going to start his own company. A company called Gone Life. And I believe, Craig, that you worked with him prior to that and
Yes.
another company. We'll talk about that. But as soon as Craig and I became, knowing of each other, it was really interesting because everyone said, oh my God, these two are going to butt heads. These two are going to really have a problem because both of them know what they know and they are good at what they do. And so they seem to do things differently. And to show you the kind of person that Craig is the one that reached out to me and hearing some of these things, because I can guarantee you there are some corporate people in his ear just basically going, listen, you better build a relationship with this guy or it's going to be a bad deal. And immediately, Craig not only knew how to build rapport, but I could tell more than anything that I say this about very few people, but Craig's heart is bigger than his chest. And so his number one thing is to help people. He gets all his significance and everything by helping other people succeed. This guy is one of the most selfless people I know. He always seems to put himself not first. He puts everybody else And I got to not only learn to like this guy, love this guy, and he's been around me, supporting me for years and helping me create new lives for millions and millions of people. And so I'm really excited to interview him. I hope Matthew will jump on live with us as well and ask some questions. So Craig, you're the special guest.
Oh my goodness. Okay. We were kind of talking a little bit about this before we started this podcast, and it was like, you know, yes, I love helping people, but I'm nervous. I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't mind being in the spotlight, but I like being in the spotlight to help others.
Yeah.
And, that's why when we would do the events, the live events, my thrill, for example, was getting on the stage and giving Robert the accolades to when he was going to speak, and just having this big, huge grin on my face. And that is to be helping others in that way, or it just, well, you can see the smile on my face right now because I'm remembering all of this.
Well,
when we did the events at Gano, and when we did the event with My Daily Choice, it was a thrill.
Yeah. And you were amazing at it and knocked it out of the park. So I just love doing this interview because I know I'm going to learn some stuff. This might feel uncomfortable for Craig, but the very first thing I'm going to do is, if you guys want to know something about Craig, make sure that you post it. I know I've heard so many people over the years. Another thing that I want to say about you, Craig, and giving you flowers, you know what I mean? You're always on the other side, is my definition also of a great person, an incredible person, is what people say about them behind their backs. And I'm not exaggerating, you guys. There's probably maybe two people in my entire life. And funny, the other one's on here, Matthew. But how many people have reached out to me in my lifetime and said, wow, Craig really helped me with this. Craig really helped me understand this. Craig was able to do this for me. And you guys know, they don't get paid for it. It's just that their love for people and wanting to help people. So Craig, I just love that part of you. I love who you are. You're more family to me than you ever have been a friend. And if I was asking people, who are my best friends, you're in that list. And so there's very few people that fit in those categories. It's hard to get in my circle, and you got to be a people for the people. And Craig has proven that over and over and over again. So to have him a part of Visionaries and doing these podcasts is incredible. So the first thing I want to do, Craig, is very simply ask you, tell us a little bit about Craig Jackman and where he was born, and how he came up to be the genius entertainer that he is today.
Oh my gosh. So many questions. Well, first of all, by the way, if you see an extra shine on my head more than, the baldness, I'm going to let you know I am sweating buckets right now. But
Thanks for the flowers. Sure, you're not overheating.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to suck up some of the flowers, and they may end up growing here very soon. Oh my gosh. I mean, okay, I was born in San Francisco, and so I'm a native Californian. I've lived in California for most of my life, and I guess I've always, my mom and dad divorced when I was 6, but I've always been a little bit outgoing, and a little bit more after the divorce, because my mom had the interest in getting us agents, meaning my brother and my sister and I.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was your mom and dad in the arts at all?
No. She was just looking for a way, because she was looking for a way to make extra income. Now, when my mom and dad got divorced, and I'm 63, and so it was back in a time when it was I'm not going to say it was frowned upon, but let's just say that a divorced mother with kids trying to get a job, it was not easy at that time. And I give my mom so much credit for raising the three of us. And, she did a great job. She really, really did. I think for all three of us, we're all different. We're all similar, but we're all different. And I was kind of and I know I've mentioned it in previous podcasts, where when my mom and dad got divorced, because I was the oldest, I was kind of thrust upon as being the father figure, the dad, the man of the house,
Right.
man of the house. And so it kind of put a little pressure on me to succeed. And
Also, you grow up a little too fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
It's like,
And
I'm the man of the house. I'm not going to go play baseball.
and that was hard. Well, it was a little hard because I did play baseball, but my mom just went way over the top to make sure that we had as good of a life as we possibly could, given the circumstances. And one of the things, and I still remember, okay, this is one of my vivid memories from that period of time, was I loved radio.
Okay.
Back then, radio was huge. And in fact, we had a neighbor who my mom knew, who worked at, and it's one of the big radio stations, it still is, but back then, KFI. And if anyone is familiar with the team Lowman and Barkley, back then they were like the #1 morning team after, I think it was like Real Don Steele or something like this.
Wow.
Now, again, we're talking old boss radio, and in the late 60s or in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. And so I got to know this friend, and we put up, my brother, sister, and I, we put up a lemonade stand in front of our apartment complex to sell lemonade to raise money for Lowman and Barkley and whatever fundraiser they were working on at that time. And so at the time they were working actually with KFWB, and I still remember the shirt. They had two sweatshirts that we all wore. It was, if you were a girl, it was a KFWB Pussycat, and if you were a guy, it was a KFWB Tomcat. It was just, and we raised money. And we were,
So the very first thing that Craig's doing is raising money for somebody else. Does this sound like that? This will be a common theme throughout the whole deal.
And so that's where my love for radio and music began. And then we moved back to Indiana for my mom, because she wanted to help her mom for a couple of years. And my mom finally said, Mom, you're doing great, you're well, but I love California too much.
Wow.
And so we moved back to California. And so.
Still back to San Francisco? When did you get to the SoCal?
Okay, well, all right. Went from San Francisco to Fresno, where my brother and sister were born, to Santa Barbara, back to Fresno, to North Hollywood, California, to Hammond, Indiana, back to Tustin, California. And from there, we moved a couple of other times to Garden Grove, Anaheim, and then personally I've moved from Anaheim to a couple of other different locations here in Southern California. So I consider myself a Southern Californian, a California native, but I've lived outside the state. And it's just, my mom moved to make sure that we were raised. And I'm sure that's where I probably got, or we were raised well. I'm sure that's where I probably got, I think maybe my desire to help people. And
wow.
Then when I got into radio, I graduated Cal State Fullerton in radio, TV, film. I had an interest in that, and I had an interest in audio.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And I still had an interest in the performing arts a little bit too. So I would help with announcing football games and doing the sound for the football games. Moving on, I actually did finally work in radio in Fresno, and in Bakersfield.
Okay.
And actually out in Victorville.
Okay. Sign on for us.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's see. You're listening to 5:40 a.m. in Fresno, California, KMJ AM. And we're going to get started with our next song. They didn't do songs, but you know, and I actually went by CJ the DJ or CJ Anthony.
I was waiting for his call out. That is awesome, Greg.
So, all right.
Similar to a Les Brown story.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
So I kind of have been working my way to where I am today. When I graduated Cal State Fullerton, it was in radio, TV, film, and then I went to Fullerton College for radio because their emphasis on over there was radio, and that's where kind of I wanted to go. Radio and news. So I did when I worked in Fresno. I worked in the news a little bit too.
Wow.
So it's a wide experience, but I took everything and brought it together. Worked at Disneyland for a little while too, where I enjoyed it and thoroughly. And of course, there also you learn about helping others. It's not about you. It's about, okay, the experience of other people.
Happiest place in the world, right?
Yes. Yes. So I learned a lot of new things working there. And then
if I could interrupt you,
yeah.
You said your mom wanted you guys to have an agent, and so did you, like, even at a young age, were you ever audition for stuff or get any parts?
No.
Okay.
Part of it was because they were asking for a lot of money to get started. It was kind of one of those scams a little early on.
Yeah.
So she didn't do it. And
probably good.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. So then after I left Disneyland, after helping my folks with their business, it did not go that well. And so I was kind of looking around and hooked up with one of our associates at Gano Excel. And originally I was on the networking side of things because I loved the product. It was coffee. And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. And I went and I was working with the product. I was helping them do presentations. I was, and then they hired me on the inside of Gano Excel so that I became one of their media marketing people.
Okay.
And I took a lot of what I learned up to that point and used that as a foundation to build the business. And then I got an offer to go to another company to do pretty much the same thing. It was a better offer and moved on. Spent about 4 years with about 3 other companies. Didn't go as well. And the timing was just right where our mutual friend called me back and said, come back. We could use you again. The timing was right. And then I went back. And that's when you and I met.
So this had to be what, early 2013?
When you and I met, yes.
Wow, it's been 10 years. I said
yes. Yes.
It's 10 years, yeah.
And I want to expand a little bit on the story you just told. Because
no,
I was told
my side sounds better, so be careful. No.
Well, honestly, and this is where it's interesting, where people need to just kind of open up, ask questions, and find out for sure. Because people were saying, "Oh no, you and Robert, you gotta be careful with Robert because he's our master distributor, and he is the one who is And I'm thinking like, okay, well, I got nothing else to lose.
Does he wear a cape? Does he have a phone booth? No, I can't.
Yes. I mean, and I had no idea about who Robert was, but everybody was saying he's our main person. And just when you go and talk with him or when you work with him, just, be mindful of that. And it kind of gave me a little bit of a odd feeling because it's like, okay, now this is the guy who's the big one in the company. He's the master distributor and everybody looks up to this person. And I'm thinking, I just need to meet him away from everybody.
And a lot of not to interrupt you again, but you knew what the company did for sales before I got to it.
Yes.
So I'm not bragging here, but the company was doing like $200,000 a year. And when I left it, it was doing 40 million a month.
Yeah.
And so, Craig, when he's seen the company years ago, and then when he gets called back, we had like 780,000 affiliates. It was just crazy. And so go ahead. I just wanted to tell people that if people were saying, watch out for him, it was definitely for a reason. I didn't like people sharing their stupid ideas that were unproven to a group of people that are making me millions of dollars a year.
Yeah, and here I am being brought into the corporate side of things to do more media work, as well as to help take over working on the events side of things. Because, oh my gosh, Robert, remember that one day, the first day that we had our event, 2.5 hours late, and I had somebody walk up to me. I'm wearing my suit. I don't know what's going on, and they're ripping me a new hole because the event is starting late.
Yeah.
And I said, that's it. We can't keep doing this.
Right.
Anyways, so I go to Robert and I say, Robert, can we just have a meeting, you and I sitting down and talking about what we both expect of ourselves with the company? Because I knew I was going to have to work with Robert. And I am so glad that I did. Because what originally we were thinking of, let's just talk about maybe a half an hour. 2.5 hours later, we were still out in the garden warehouse talking, and it was
about a vision.
Yes.
That was not there yet that we were going to create together.
Exactly. And
we're still doing that now.
Oh, absolutely. And that coming together right there started this amazing friendship. And I've seen Robert on the stage so many times. I had the pleasure of introducing him, as well as Matt and the rest of the family, on the stage at one of the events. And it was incredible. And then Robert literally got me hook, line, and sinker. He helped me with mindset. Now, granted, I'm not a networking person. I'm corporate. Right. But here's the beauty of what Robert says and does. And I can't stress this to everybody. Yes, Robert does work with the network marketing industry. But what he says is life. He wants to help you with life. And I took it that way. It's like, okay, fine. Take your message, but what you share in communicating with others, in making others feel good, in finding, people don't care about you unless they know that you care. And it not only works in network marketing, but every single thing.
Life, without a doubt.
Absolutely. You taught me how to do meditation, to bring meditation into my life, Robert. You taught me how to be open-minded with others, and I know you and I've had discussions about, it's like, it's not about, and I'm saying this from my perspective, it's not about me. Yes, I am going through things, but look at the whole picture. And I am just so blessed to be on this journey with you, Robert, with Matt, with everybody here, because I learn things new every single day. Yes, I've been with Robert long enough to know sometimes, especially when I do post in the chats for the YouTubes, many of the Robertisms, the Hollisisms that come up, because I've heard them over and over and over again. And I want to stress these to people because, honestly, Robert, you have been not just a mentor, but a dear friend. And Excuse me. I so appreciate it. Um, and
Freaking me up. I love
it,
you, man.
I love you too. And it's just, here we are working again together. And I just want to help you. I want to help everybody succeed. And I even thought the other day it was kind of interesting how, okay, if maybe I'm not the number one person, but can I be a damn good Ed McMahon to Johnny Carson?
Oh my God.
Yes. So if that's what it's going to take, then absolutely, positively, I want to help.
Well, you do more than help. I mean, all the support that you do in the background, and I know there's some people on here that are already super chatting and giving some money, but of course, I know you have an incredible friendship with Melody Riva.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh, she is
it's like
mm,
she's one of us. She's
yes,
one of us.
yes, she is. Um, Melody is an incredible person, an incredible friend. She and I talk fairly regularly, and it's, there's an obvious. I'm going to say this: if you're following Robert, you learn about how to work with people, and I have shared with Melody many things that Robert. We actually, Melody and I have conversations a lot about you, Robert,
Oh no.
and all good, of course. But this is how much of an influence that you have had on, I know, the two of us, and then watching people in the chat who follow you, watching the people over the years who know you, learning about them, and watching you work with all of these people, whether it's the interviews, the one-on-ones, when you were doing your stage stuff with, you call up one person out of the audience and you do these incredible masterminds with them. It's like, wow. And
Thank you, Craig.
I know that,
I think that you're one of the people more than anybody. Of course, this interview is about you, but I think sometimes if you guys think I have alternative
ulterior.
manipulation stuff going on, yeah, words too big for me. Craig is we've broken bread together. Craig has been at my homes, plural. And he knows me behind the scenes. He knows my wife very well. People that I know, he knows my children. There's not a time that Craig leaves me a message that he's not saying, hey, by the way, tell Terry and the boys hi. And so it's really, really a pleasure to interview you, Craig. It really, really is.
Well,
And if I could pull something else out of you, I wanted Matt to come on and ask some questions as well, if he felt like it. But one of the things I want to do too is, I think you and I, I know you and I work so well together because I want Craig to be the best Craig he can be. So I know that in times you and I have sat down and talked to each other, and you shared with me your love and stuff for the arts and doing plays and stuff like that. And I remember when I first started sharing characters with you that I wanted to do on stage.
They're here. They're in one of my folders that are right here within reach.
Yeah. So,
I'm sorry.
for some of you that know what Mark Aceta does with characters, Craig has helped me do characters on stage. And me and Matt, being one of the visionaries, that is like our dream. Our dream is not only to bring these characters out, Matt, because he's on AI and all this new stuff that he's doing. What I wanted to do before we started talking about the future, Craig, where you see us 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
I really want you to bring up your love for not only doing plays, but how, because a lot of people always ask me, where did this book come from? It was me, honestly, in my nice way, beating the crap out of Max Miller to find out what he truly wanted to do in his life. And once he figured out that he wanted to be an author, then he told me, hey, listen, I want to write a book about you. If anyone knows anything about this book, it was me beating the crap out of Lori Munson. Mm-hmm. Finding that she wanted to be an author, and then she wrote that book with me or for me as well. And Craig, when he found out that I loved doing characters and I wanted to come up with significant emotional events that would really, really change somebody's life, that they wouldn't be the same forever, that's where Craig was. So then all of a sudden I was talking to Craig and he was going, yeah, I've always wanted to do, like plays and stuff and, maybe go down that avenue. And I'm the kind of guy that's going to go, well, when are you doing that? So it was fun when Craig came with Matt and I, and we were doing, Melody was a part of that. And I did the millionaire creation formula, or basically what I did is I wanted to teach people and push them to find out what their vision was and then hold them accountable to make it happen. So I can remember, Matt, I know you do too, can remember when we were helping Craig be that person for other people. He was going to be the guy that was going to reach out to people, share with them how to stay out of the pitfalls and how to actually do plays, do movies, do whatever. And through doing that, Craig started being in plays. So tell us a little bit, Craig, because I know that you're a volunteer with some other people that are also doing some things for people, but I want people to know, what does Craig do when they don't get to see Craig, on Matings with Me? What else does Craig love to do?
Well, you're right, acting. And in fact, I just had the pleasure of an honor at the beginning of this year to do a show called The Jutalian, where it was a play premiere. Okay. And it was interesting because I guess I must be doing something right, because a person who was one of the producers called me up the night of the audition and said, Craig, you need to get over here now. And I'm like, I'm busy. I can't. You need to get over here now. Oh, okay. And so I just thought, and it's been a while since I've done a play. In fact, I think it was about 2 years, or actually before the pandemic is the last time I did a play. I did A Christmas Carol, which loved it. Would do that again in a heartbeat. And where I was Scrooge, by the way.
And Scrooge, we're going to have to post and see where people can see some of the videos that Craig's got.
Okay. I have a few of them. Yes. And so this was a premiere play, and I got into it. I got the role, and when it was done, the two writers said, "You are the person that we were thinking about for this particular role. Wow. You were the quintessential lead." And I was like, "Oh my God, really?" So, yeah. I love doing stage productions because it enhances my skills, and every time I have learned. And Robert, what you share, practice makes permanent. That's why we went through all the rehearsals. That's why in the last few plays that I went to, I did not have to go through the complete entire audition process. Because
hey, well, when people are writing parts in a play for you, this is something that you hear in these big movies. It's like it's sort of easy for Matt would know some of the people that did it, but they actually write a part for a person and then send them the script and said, I wrote this for you. You're in the movie. Well, can I read it and figure out if I want to do it? You know what I mean? And it's like, not really.
Well, not okay. Let me make a little correction. This particular part that I just did it was not so much that they wrote it for me, but this woman who said, you need to audition, saw me in this role and said, you have to audition.
Wow.
And so afterwards, and recently, the writer said that, yes, you were the quintessential Finn. That's the character, Finn. And it was like, oh my God, what a compliment. And
Has your mom ever seen you perform?
Yes, she has.
Damn, I know that was one of the goals.
Exactly.
And because of your and my beliefs, I can guarantee your dad was proud of you as well.
I think so.
I know so.
Yeah, my dad passed in 2001, and I still think he's with me today.
No doubt.
I mean, not just here, but okay, spiritual. However spiritual you are, and I was talking with my girlfriend about this just the other day. I almost think that my spirit animal is a hummingbird. And the reason why, well, besides the fact that they're fearless, they're small, and they go after it. A lot of times when I thought about my dad, just out of the blue, a hummingbird pops up. In fact, I was telling this to Melody too the other day. There's a hummingbird there, and it's just like,
Hi, Dad.
Yeah, I have actually said that to the hummingbird. I mean, and it's looking at me. And it's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, because I'm following my passion. And I know you have said many, many, many times, Robert, that, if anything, follow your passion.
Yep. And I can tell once you did that, it's changed who you are, Craig. I'm so proud of who you are. And to see all of a sudden, your girlfriend fall into your life and you guys doing vacations and stuff. It's fun to know Craig 10 years ago and see Craig today living his best life is just really, truly what life is all about. It really is. So, God, I'm so proud of you.
And, when you say rich is not just money.
Hell no.
Rich is your life, your lifestyle. And I can thank you over and over again, Robert, because that is something that you always share.
I always want to know what's going on in your life and how we can get you to the next step.
Yeah. It was a very busy over the last couple of months with some other projects that I had.
Any of those you want to share?
Okay. Well, prior to my going on the cruise, I was helping my acting coach, who we're going to get back together here shortly, with a family reunion. And in a sense, I was behind the scenes. I was helping her stay on track, stay on the path. A lot of ideas came up, which we talked about. Based on a lot of the experiences from working with you, from working with the various networking companies that I've worked with in the past, as well as with the acting. We put together some very cool stuff to entice people to come. And then, similar to what has happened in the past when we do events, I was recruited to be the MC of the event. And we made the whole event work so well. And it wasn't... this woman's family is all, and I'm going to just say the term, black. They are, the family is of, I'm not too keen on the...
Is that their last name or is it their color of their skin?
The color of their skin. And
that's
the reason why I'm saying this, and there is no disrespect to people.
No.
I don't particularly like the term African American, because if you say that, African American refers to Egyptians, South Africans, Moroccans. So in other words, the Arabic people, white people, in addition to black people. So if people are upset at the way, and when I say they are black people, fine, I don't care. people know where my heart is. Because what was so beautiful is I became adopted into this entire family for helping them with their family reunion. I was the fish out of water, just on the look, but not in the heart.
Yeah, you've always been, even in the groups that you and I have built, you've always been the marshmallow and the hot chocolate. I mean, some of the biggest groups that you and I built together was all Latino.
That's right.
And again, Latam, but yeah, it is funny when you try to group all those people together and say Spanish, and they are Latin, and they go, "No, I'm from Ecuador."
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, are you Latin? No, I'm from Peru. It's like, I'm from Spain. Because people like it being individuality. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, and you've always been very conscious of that, Craig. You're always thinking. I know we've had some good podcasts where, you get talking about how other people should be perceived. And it is smart to talk to those people and ask them how they want to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I do my best to pronounce their name properly. And if not, I want to know, okay, how is it that I am supposed to pronounce your name?
Yeah.
Because it's so important. Your name, the person's name. And I know we were talking a little bit about that with Mary's podcast earlier today, her interview. For those of you who are not part of the inner circle, join and watch this interview. It is fantabulous.
In a previous thing, Craig, that you and Matt and I did together, I could sell that training for $97 all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And all it would say is how to go from 631 friends on Facebook to 6,000 followers.
Yes. And
could sell Mary's course for Matt. He'd put capture pages together where we could sell that for $495.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are wondering what Mary said, it was very simple. When you speak to the person that you're trying to get to know, that you're connecting with, say their name.
Yeah, treat them like somebody.
Yes.
I think, Craig, if there's anything before we go into answering questions and having Matt come on, is you're a master at making people feel special.
And part of that is because of you, Robert.
And you do it with no malice, nothing in it for you. You're never looking for a way to get them to know, like, and trust you and make them feel special so you could sell them something or get them to do something against their will.
Nope.
You're the poster child for that, my friend.
Well, thank you. It takes years. It's taken years to come to that, to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you've even shared that about your past experiences.
Yes.
You have to learn. It's not a straight line.
Right.
It's not a straight line.
I know some of our conversations that I always loved the most is I love that you trusted me enough to come with me going, before I knock this guy out, I was wondering if you had another approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Craig, unfortunately, because he was the guy that Jovan Kabasic put in charge as the communicator between all things that happened. And there was a lot of people that didn't treat Craig the way he deserved to be treated because of their lack of skills. And so Craig was still looking how to make those people feel okay. It was crazy, but I love you, man. I love you. So, Matt, you got any questions for Craig?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the amount of incredible things, Craig, that you've brought and the things that I've learned too, just on how to work with people and treat people as well. I've learned some of that stuff from you, I think my patience always wasn't the best, and it's interesting because I think when you want to be helpful with people, And me and Craig were kind of even talking about this before we got on the podcast, before you got on, Dad, where it's like, you know, both of us have that same personality trait where it's like, I want to help the person.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I think, I've never seen anybody like go more above and beyond to help people than Craig.
Right.
Like it's, you know what I mean? Like consistently. And I think it's something that I've learned too, not just from Craig, but from you too as well, Dad, just to have a heart, more of a heart for people and more of an understanding for people, to not get frustrated by people, but to understand them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and Craig, I guess the question that I have for you is, where do you think, outside of those things, where do you think that comes from? Like the stuff that you've already shared, is there anything that has happened in your life that gave you that patience or gave you more of that understanding for people? You know what I mean? Gave you more of that heart for people? Was there like a specific moment, or was it like many moments that led up? I know it's a big, heavy question,
Oh
but
gosh.
but
It
I
is
think it's
definitely-
unique to
it's-
you, you know, like that
Me.
I'm curious about. So
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely your significant emotional events in your life that made you go, this is what I'm going to be. Great
the
question.
compassion, right?
Is it
Uh,
compassion and patience?
Mm-hmm.
I think I can look at my mom and because of what she went through raising us. And I just wanted to be I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be liked. I didn't want to have to go through a divorce, even though I did. And maybe because I needed that experience. Um, I felt that if enough people liked me enough and if I had the right person at that particular time, that everything would be great. And it wasn't. Um, at least in the sense of the marriage part of it. But I had to learn that because I was always giving and always giving and always giving. Um, so that was, I think, part of it. But as I don't know. I think it was just I wanted to be around people so much that I wanted them to like me. And then when I learned that it's not so much forcing people to like you, it's just being who you are around people and understanding where they're coming from and understanding that they have their right to live the way they are. And I think also the fact that one experience I had that I think what just threw me for a loop was when I actually had somebody spit on me. I was a young boy. I was showing off, and I think I even shared this in a podcast. I was showing off a symbol of my faith, being Jewish, and he was not. And his parents were very proud of him for spitting on me because I was Jewish, because he was taught that Jewish people killed Christ. Well, no, it wasn't. Regardless of that, the fact, and it made me try to understand, why did he do this? I'm a person. I'm a kid. I don't know what's going on. It really hurt me to see that people would have that. And I'm altruistic, through and through. But I've also learned that you can't help people unless they help themselves. You can be there. You can share with. I love sharing thoughts and things with people, but please do not push them on me. I don't mind going to church and sitting in a mass because I'm looking around. It's like, oh my God, look at all these people. Look at what they're sharing. Look at what they're doing. And I want them to come and see what I do, what I want to share, because I want to learn about people. I want to find out what it is about them that makes them who they are. And more and more, that to me is what has been significant about being patient with people. Yes, I'm not going to deny there have been times where I have just said, enough, not in those words, but with a few, a little more colorful language. But it's just the way I was raised. And speaking of colorful language, I don't use that much. I like to feel that. I mean, if I use a 4-letter word, it is because I am royally angry.
Royally, that word, angry.
Yes. All right, fine. Pissed.
Right.
But because there's so many other ways to do things, to get the message across. And unfortunately, sometimes there are times where you just got to say it. But if I can avoid going that far,
you do if
I
you
will.
can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've never seen Craig. I've never seen Craig like that. Like I said, he always came to me. Can you guys imagine not only this person, me, that's how I got put in jail more than any other times was, that if I was in that situation with Craig and someone spat at him, he would see someone come to his defense so fast, so quick. And it would have been ugly. He probably would have been mad at me for being so violent. But we each have our way of wanting to protect people and make them not feel like someone else made us feel.
Yeah.
And so, it's that's where you learn those skills, is when someone is used something bad towards you, and you just do not like that feeling, and you don't want anybody else to feel that way. So Craig was always coming to me trying to help somebody that was really abusing him. I don't know if you guys can stretch your mind to be that loving of an individual. That time after time after time, someone constantly was causing headaches for you, abusing you, calling you names, blaming stuff on you that was not your fault. And Craig was always trying to figure out how to help this individual.
2 people that you and I know from the previous company specifically. Actually 3, but that one almost pushed me over the limit there. The third one. But the 2, I think you know who I'm talking about.
Oh.
It was just, it was very difficult for me to, especially one of the issues, not to want to go to wring his neck.
Yeah.
Physically.
Well, that's when you came to me, and I don't know how many of you have the mindset where someone did stuff so much to hurt you that you want to physically put harm on them. And Craig's first mode of operation is to talk to somebody to try to figure out how not to do that. That is one degree of what Craig has mastered that I haven't. I just heard him. So if any one of you want to know whether or not you're in my favor, if I've never abused you or beat you up, you're still in my favor. So it takes a while for me. It takes a lot for me to get there as well. But great question, Matt. Golly,
Yes.
I just was quiet, and I know that I think my internet dropped, and then I came back on. But I'm going to go watch that when Craig talked about that. Matt, any other incredible questions?
No, yeah. I mean, I know that we'll probably end with talking about the future as we normally do, but I think, when I think about the times that us 3 have worked together so far, and, I've known Craig since I was a teenager. Right. So I think it's, when you talk about the characters, Dad, and you talk about those certain things, there's not many projects as I start getting things going over the next couple of years where I don't think of including you, Craig. I always am like, okay, when you talk about writing certain parts or doing certain things, I really do think you have a gift and you have something special when it comes to acting. And now I'm going to come into my area, which is why specifically acting outside of, because you're so good at presenting, you're so good at being on stage and doing that you really could and have done that as a career. So now, you've said in previous podcasts that your ex-wife wasn't supportive of your acting career. And then you've also brought up in here that your mom actually looked for an agent at one point. Obviously, it may have been a scam or something. Was there a seed that was planted at that moment that made you go, at some point, I want to be in plays, I want to be on stage, I want to act? Or has that been something that's developed more in your adult life? Like, was it something that you wanted to do since you're a kid, I guess is what I'm asking? Or is that something that's been new over the last couple of decades that you've been interested in?
I think it's more in the last couple of decades because, yes, I loved radio. In fact, I tried to imitate a lot of the DJs back then. And when I got into radio, it was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Because you're projecting yourself through a microphone, kind of similar to what we're doing here.
Right.
And you're talking to somebody on the other side, or at least you're supposed to be talking to somebody on the other side.
Not talking at them?
Talking to them.
Oh, okay.
Big difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big difference. And so I learned that. And it was my love of radio and my love of putting things together, like radio programs, audio broadcasts, editing, into the video editing side of things. But before even doing the video editing, I always had that wonderment going back when I first got on stage. What would it feel like? Hint, hint. And on a whim, somebody just said, why don't you, a friend through theater, or who is a person who worked at one of the local community theaters, said, why don't you get on stage? Now, at this point, my only interest was mostly radio. Now, yes, I had done Jungle Cruise at Disneyland and the Mark Twain, where I'm up in the wheelhouse.
Of course, everyone does that.
Yes, exactly. As up in the wheelhouse, and now I'm putting on a big Southern type accent, welcoming everybody on board the Mark Twain. Anyways, but I never really thought about doing theater.
Matt, doesn't Craig make it sound like this is just what everybody could do?
Well, it's funny because me and Hannah recently for her birthday went and did both those rides, right, in Disneyland. Mm-hmm. And it is not an easy job to get everybody up and going, especially in like the what's the one where the paddling one where everyone's got to paddle? The canoes.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was
yeah.
But no, I didn't even know that you had done those things at Disneyland either. But it is really, really, it's interesting because like with anything, with people, you see now as you're sharing all this stuff, the culmination of how it ended up where we are now. You know what I mean? And I think
when Craig intros me,
right,
this is how uniquely different Craig Jackman is from other people. If we could get a transcript of exactly word for word how Craig introduces me, I can guarantee you out of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, there'd be less than one person that could even get close.
Yeah.
And here's why. When Craig edifies and announces me, he does it from a place of really, truly wanting to push me up. And a majority of the people that I know would not be able to do that because they're worried about their ego.
They're thinking of like how they're perceived when they're saying it or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. It's like in their mind, they're not thinking, how do I get everybody to pay attention to this guy? When most people are trying to figure out how not for me to even be a part of their deal.
Oh, I have always learned that you as an MC, It's not about you. It's about the person you are introducing. Now, if I have fun doing it along the way, yes. Because I remember doing the MDC and the Gano Excel events and the Gano Life events. And I loved in
First
those
time,
little...
the first time I spoke at a convention for MDC, Craig was the MC.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love looking at the people. And this comes from practice. And ladies and gentlemen, yes, I've stumbled. Okay. I have stumbled when I first started doing these. So, but I've learned to involve my audience. When I introduce somebody and I can do an aside and look at somebody and get their acknowledgement that they're listening to me, then all I need is that one person, because I know that everybody else is listening as well. And Robert, that's what I look for, not just introducing you, but anybody.
You're gifted, man. You are gifted.
No, I think you being able to share it in those terms too, I think it's helpful to people that want to be like you, Craig, because I think that there are people in our audience too that goes, man, I wish I had that gift. And what is really cool about doing this podcast and doing these types of things in general and asking these questions is you realize it's a mix between talent, gift, and hard work ethic. Yes. Thinking, being consistent. And I think that's something that we want to air to everybody here, because sometimes, and I'm going to be interviewed next week, but sometimes people watch us on here and they go, man, I wish I could be part of that group with them and stuff. And it's like, you are, and there's no way that you couldn't be up here being interviewed too. It's not like an immediate thing that happens as far as where we are. It's a growth thing, right? And as you guys have heard with Craig's story, what he shared so far, and we're going to get into the future here in a second, is how he can get on and give that much energy and do all of those things. And you go, I kind of get it now, because I kind of understand, whether it was from DJing back in the day to all the stage work, to even projecting at plays, to even playing the lead in plays, whether it's the Jutalian that you did, or the Scrooge, when you do those roles require a lot of energy and a lot of performance. I've watched you do them on YouTube. And so it's not something that every actor could do. We both collectively could agree that those roles are not, it's a rare type of person that could even do those types of roles.
They're not easy. Yeah.
They're not. You have to have a level of ability to perform and energy to bring that not every performer can do.
Wanting to make other people feel better than thinking about you.
Right. And I see that too. And every single time you announce my dad on these calls, right? That same level of energy and commitment and excitement. And I think having the ability to talk to you on here and for you to share some of that stuff has been really, really great. I'm so glad that we did this. I don't have any, those were my questions that I had. I know that they ended up being 30 minutes.
I have one other thing to bring up about Craig. So, when we knew we were going to do this interview, we got on a little early and talked, and I said, so if Craig is doing the interview, maybe I should start out and lead it. And Matt goes, yeah, that's a great idea. And then I go, yeah, I could basically do that. And then I said, or maybe we just let Craig do what he always does. And Craig goes, listen, it's all written out. I'm prepared. And I'm going we're stupid. You know what I mean? Craig's going to do and I'm going this incredible human doing takes extreme amount of practice and pride in what he does. And it shows, Craig. It shows. And so with the vision that we instilled in each other, Craig, 10 years ago, in that 2-hour meeting talking about, and where Matt's going to come into this is, Matt's always had this wild thing, if I ever really push him, and this is going to be a lead into the next interview, is if you want to think big, and I mean big, Matt wants to change the education of the world. he knows through significant emotional events and getting people to feel and not losing that feeling. Well, I got trained by someone that did characters that went out of their way to make sure that I felt that way, including introduced me to, the greatest miracle in the world. My mentor knew that he could do things for me. Did you hear for me, not to me? But he purposely would create emotional events that would anchor thoughts into my skull that were unforgettable, that would change me. So I shared this with Craig, and like I said in the past, we actually got pulled one off. You know what I mean? We finally got the person that was running to allow us to do characters on stage one time.
Oh God, yes, that was fun.
And then, when I left that company and Craig and I lost contact for a little bit, then me and Matthew went out and did some seminars together with characters. So, now Craig, knowing where the visionaries are, and like everybody here is a participant, is if you want to be, how we're going to move forward. And Matt, with the idea, we'll get him next week on, his thoughts about animation and AI and VR and AR and all this stuff. How we can help people make those significant changes in who they are and who they want to be faster than ever.
Yes.
And so Craig understands this vision of where we're going. And I seen a post just the other day, Craig, of when Colonel Sanders started Kentucky Fried Chicken. So we're way ahead of the game, you and I.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah. And the stuff that we can still, I got dear friends that I say hi to almost daily that are, in their 80s. And so I know I got a lot of summers left, and Craig, I know you do too. And so why don't you share with people where you see Craig and with or without participation in what we're doing, and where you see yourself in the next years, 5 years, and 10 years?
Well, you guys are definitely an important part of my vision as we continue down the road. I see us doing exactly what you've shared. If we do the characters, I definitely want to be up there, and not just doing the characters, but helping to build the event or events around not just that, really, Robert, but everything. I sincerely believe that, you have a message to share to more people than you are sharing now. And I want to be a part of it, because I think that the message that you give and that you share with everybody is so important. From another angle, acting is still a love of mine. I am right now regrouping a little bit, in addition to working on what we are working on together, the three of us and more. I've redone my demo reel. I'm looking for an agent. I think one of the bucket list items that I would love to see happen to me in the nearest future would be to do a Star Trek or Star Wars series and or episode.
Wow.
I would love to do that. There's a lot of real estate up here that people can use, meaning if you're just listening to it, the baldness that I have. But you know what? I've always loved that. I've always loved, even more so recently, exploring what, other things, how to tell stories, how to help people. And okay, some people have said, what about going to the dark side? Well, yes.
What's the dark side?
The dark side, like maybe playing a villain.
Wow.
But I also look at it as, okay, you actually get to learn. If you embody a character like a villain, you actually get to learn about how they think and how they feel. I think one of the classic character studies, in my opinion, lately is if you've seen the Marvel movies and Thanos, he's one of the ultimate people. He just snap your fingers and boom, everything changes. He's a titan. But Thanos, if you look at it from his perspective, and this is where I think I've also learned the patience in looking at it from other people's perspective. What Thanos, if you look at it from Thanos's perspective, it's not necessarily bad the way he looks at things, because he is still thinking about, okay, if I snap my fingers and I can get rid of half of the population. And again, this is from his perspective. I'm not necessarily saying it's right or wrong, but if you look at it from his, then things will be better. The resources will be better. And this is what makes the Thanos character not so much, yes, he is sort of a villain, but he's a villain with a cause. And when you see it, when you are able to look at things from another perspective, it makes you think about, okay, where are they now? What is the reason why people do what they do now? What was their upbringing? And I know we've talked about that in previous podcasts. So, but the fact that I can, help people get that. There are certain roles I will not do. Period.
Give me one.
Okay. I would have a hard time playing the role of a Nazi.
Got it.
Yeah, I think that would be a hard one.
That would be a very difficult one to do.
I think being in anything related to that time would be difficult. You know what I mean? Like for obvious reasons. So, even when you're, I was going to say, even when you're giving like examples of Thanos and stuff, I do think that you would play a great villain, Craig, because I do think that you'd bring everything that you just shared is the exact reasons why I think you'd be great at it. I think when you think about playing those types of roles, you really want to do a character study on a person and not make them out to be a villain. And those are some of my favorite, whether it's Breaking Bad or even films like Taxi Driver, even though they don't end in a good way. And it's not like it's still a character study on someone that's dealing with things, even though they're bad people necessarily. Right. It's like a window into their understanding. And I think when you think of certain situations like that, the best person that you could have to play one of those roles is someone that goes into it with complete grayness and plays it in that area, like understands that this person's a human being and they have like motivations outside of, I just want to destroy the world, right? If you want to take it to like the superhero area. I think that obviously the villain you referenced is a really great modern example of having a motive that's like understandable as a villain, even though, I know my dad hasn't seen all these movies, all the Marvel movies, but yeah, no, I always have thought that, Craig. I always thought, okay, that comedic area that you have, like, I don't know if you've seen King of Comedy.
No, I haven't, but I have heard about it. I will now go ahead and
definitely watch it, because I think that there's certain roles where you would bring that comedic aspect and that heart and that joy where you could also play like in this middle villain type area. I feel like that role would be like so good for you, but that's just my opinion. But I think that you could bring that to one of those roles. And I think that like, that is a unique style of acting. Very rare does someone have the ability to carry like a certain level of humility and maybe do something in the script that is not perceived as like a good act, or it definitely maybe isn't a good act, but at the same time can bring a humanity to the role where people can justify it in a sense with the situation that's happening. So yeah, I would love to see you play one of those roles, especially since you have like the comedic chops. I think that, like I said, King of Comedy, you watch that movie, Scorsese and De Niro.
Yeah.
I think you would nail a role like that.
One of my favorite actors is Gene Hackman because of that versatility.
Great example. Yeah, great example.
I mean, here he can go from, Unforgiven and French Connection to Birdcage.
Right.
And to playing Lex Luthor in Superman, who he's a super villain, but very tongue-in-cheek.
Right. Playful
And-
with it.
Yeah,
Almost like in a Joker sense, but not as
Almost.
chaotic.
right. But
More calculated
okay,
in a different way.
you bring up the Joker and the way that Heath Ledger played the Joker, or Mark Hamill
Right.
when he did the cartoon version of the Joker. They all believed that this is what they were destined to do.
Right.
And this is their perception of the world. And that's what made their interpretations of the Joker so compelling. There's a
Yeah.
reason why Heath Ledger got that nomination.
Got the Oscar, right? He won.
I think yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know we always, me and Craig tend to turn this into a movie podcast towards the end. But it's funny, we probably should just end up doing that movie club now that you're back from your vacation. I think
It's
that'd be
like-
a lot of fun.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
with that
but-
said, like I do think I'll do a clean segue into the future, then we can end the podcast. I know we've already been going for an hour and a half.
Oh my God.
But-
I can't believe this.
Right. But as far as the future goes, like I definitely see us doing some stuff on stage, bringing the characters back, possibly even filming and doing some stuff. I know with where the future is going, and we'll talk about this a little bit on my interview podcast, but man, there is a time that's coming in the near future, you guys, where your performances on stage will be eternally available to be viewed on stage through VR and AR. So to think that there's this whole new set of technology that's coming that's going to immortalize that education and those performances in a live way that a bunch of people are going to be introduced to like next year as the Apple headset and more of these AR things come out. And it's like, man, to think 100 years from now, people will still be watching Craig and my dad perform these characters live in front of them. It's kind of crazy to think about, but that's the future that will exist. So
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm kind of working with that now, doing performance away from this here on the
Audacity stuff, right?
Yeah, Audacity Network. It's kind of funny because I also help with a friend of mine with a podcast there, plus perform not just singing but poetry and
live music, right?
Live
live music.
Yep. And it's just the opportunities that, I'm going to say the opportunities that the pandemic has afforded us has really been interesting and incredible because we took advantage of it. Here, for example, doing things with Zoom. We, on that network alone, have figured so many different things out so that we could do this and we could make it work. And all of a sudden now everybody's doing a podcast. Why? Because of this incredible technology and this explosion of technology and what the future holds with it. Yes, there's things about AI that are not the greatest. But
We'll talk about those next week.
yeah, but the bottom line is it's here. Work with it. We got to work with it to make this thing work. And those people that can do that. And Matthew, I know you're researching, you're doing so much stuff. I can't wait to share so much of this, not just here, but in the future.
Us meeting in studios. Matt and I have been watching. What. Matt shared with me on the high tech side, all the stuff that's happening with the way that they do Dune.
Oh gosh, yes.
And Matt's saying, like everything that we can literally imagine as a backdrop behind the scenes, all around the scene, is stuff that can be created now, through technology. And it's like, so not only do we put the scripts together and the characters together, but now we're filming something and editing something that we get to fulfill what Jim Rohn talks about. And that's that you die twice, right? So that second time we die is when people stop talking about what we created that emotionally impacted people for the rest of their lives. Yeah. It's like, because when I met my mentor, I was a very, very, very selfish individual. You know, I would not consider myself a people person. And to see that what I got for fulfillment of being that, it's like where when you guys hear Matt and Matt and Craig go off on movies and stuff. See, that's the balance. That's the yin and yang of, you got to pull people together that have different philosophies and different outlooks than you do to be able to take care of the masses. You know,
Right.
yeah. So it's always neat to have this going. And man, I think we could go ahead and close this out. And now I feel weird because I'm going to throw it back to Craig to close out his interview.
Well,
Craig, close out your own interview.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to just one more thing.
Please.
Yeah,
You know,
the last word, definitely the last word.
well, all I can say is look at what's happening to you right now, and you can make a difference. It is a mindset. And I know, Robert, especially over the last couple of days, you've been talking about mindset. And it is. Where you are right now is because of your mindset. Where I am is because I've had to adjust my mindset. And I will continue to adjust my mindset to what's going to happen, to that will not only affect me, but everybody else. But at the same time, I'm still me. If it's not something I like, step aside. Let somebody else do it. But follow your heart. It is so much of a guide. And if you just let it go, let it guide you, then you will be in the right direction. And Robert, you've helped me do that. You've helped me follow my heart. You were part of an inspiration that brought me back to the stage after taking a 15-year break. Awesome. Between you and the person that I call my muse, you are one of those people, because it's always with the heart with you. And do that. Take the chances too. Take the chances. Step out of that box. If it's not hurting you, if it's not hurting anybody else, and if you can become better for it, do it. And I'm learning every day to step outside that box. And thank you, Robert. Matthew,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Craig.
Thank you for taking the time and showing your heart. I know when people think about being interviewed, I thought probably, Craig, you'd go, well, listen, this is going to be a short one. But I guarantee you that your heart was seen, and we got a lot of people to impact, Craig. So thank you so much for allowing us to do this.
And thank you.
Thank you so much, Craig. Everything.
Okay, so let's.
I was gonna say, do you want me to do this?
You know,
He's a
ladies and gentlemen,
He's a professional.
You know, you can follow Robert at roberthollis.com. And you can also follow him on YouTube at roberthollis.com/YouTube. On Discord, roberthollis.com/Discord. Instagram at instagram.com/official Robert Hollis. And on TikTok at tiktok.com/@real Robert Hollis. Please don't forget to like and share this video on YouTube and share it with others. It will help our community grow and reach those with ears that can hear. And Robert's schedule, I always like to say it because it is important. Follow, please. Sunday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific, going live. Ask Me Anything every Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific. How do you know that podcast, like we're doing today? Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific. And then we have the Inner Circle Breakthrough Sessions every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific. And to be part of the Inner Circle Breakthrough Sessions, you've got to join the Inner Circle at roberthollis.com/join. Thank you again, Matthew. You are an amazing executive producer and a dear friend. I love you.
Love you too,
Robert. What can I say? Bless you, man. Thank
I
you.
love it.
And until next time, please be good to yourselves. Be cash and